The sky darkened over New York as if a storm was brewing. But this was no ordinary weather event. People on the street stopped and pointed upward, their faces twisted with confusion and fear. Office workers pressed against windows. Traffic halted. A massive shadow crawled across the city as something blocked the sun. It was happening everywhere. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Delhi. Every major city across the globe experienced the same phenomenon at precisely the same moment. The object that appeared in Earth's orbit was unlike anything humans had ever built. It stretched nearly 10 miles long, with a dark metallic surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Within hours, smaller craft, each the size of a naval destroyer, deployed from the main vessel and positioned themselves above major cities worldwide. Global communications went into chaos. Emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming as governments struggled to make sense of what was happening. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, but no one fired a shot. The uncertainty was paralyzing. "This is not a drill," announced the President of the United States in an emergency broadcast. "We are experiencing what appears to be first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. We urge everyone to remain calm while we establish communications." But before diplomatic channels could be established, every electronic device on Earth simultaneously displayed the same message: "Your planet is now under the protection of the Void Fleet. Resistance is unnecessary. Compliance will be rewarded." Tom Davis hunched over his computer terminal at the North American Defense Laboratory, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he analyzed incoming data. At 42, he had spent his career studying theoretical energy weapons, a field that had seemed purely academic until today. "Sir, you need to see this," Tom called to his superior, General Wilson. "These readings from the alien ships, they're putting out energy signatures unlike anything we've recorded before." The general approached, his face grim. "What am I looking at, Davis?" "Their power output is off the charts, but there's something else." Tom pointed to a pattern in the data. "There's a fluctuation here that doesn't make sense. It's almost like..." His explanation was cut short as a blinding flash of light appeared on every screen in the facility. The aliens were broadcasting worldwide again. A figure appeared, humanoid in shape but with proportions that seemed slightly wrong. Its skin was pale gray, eyes large and completely black. "To demonstrate our technological superiority, we will now remove a small, uninhabited landmass from your planet. This is not an act of aggression, merely a demonstration." Satellite feeds showed a remote island in the Pacific Ocean. In an instant, a beam of intense purple light shot down from one of the alien ships. When it faded, the island was simply gone, not destroyed, but seemingly erased from existence, leaving only disturbed water rushing to fill the void. Panic spread across the globe. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders declared the end times. Military forces mobilized despite having no effective strategy. In the chaos, Tom remained focused on his data. Something about the energy spike during the demonstration had confirmed his suspicions. There was a pattern to the alien technology, a vulnerability, perhaps. "General," he said quietly, "I think I found something." When they fired that weapon, there was a momentary fluctuation in their shield frequency. "It's barely detectable, but it's there." The general looked skeptical. "What good does that do us? We don't have anything that can touch them." "Not yet," Tom replied, his eyes never leaving the screen. "But this gives us something to work with. If their shields operate on frequency principles, then theoretically..." "Speak plainly, Davis." Tom finally looked up. "Sir, I think we can build something that might disrupt their defenses. I need a team, resources, and absolute secrecy." As the world's governments prepared to meet with the alien representatives, Tom gathered the brightest minds he could find. The aliens thought themselves invincible, and perhaps they were, against conventional weapons. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to find solutions where none seemed possible. The clock was ticking. The Void Fleet had arrived, and Earth had changed forever. But if Tom was right, humanity might still have a fighting chance. 3 days after the arrival of the Void Fleet, Tom found himself in a hastily converted underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility had once been a storage site for nuclear materials but now served as the central hub for what the military called Project Resonance. Scientists from 12 countries had been quietly assembled, each bringing expertise in different fields. The room buzzed with nervous energy as Tom presented his findings. "Their ships are protected by energy fields unlike anything we've developed," Tom explained, pointing to the data displayed on the main screen. "But look here." He highlighted a section of the readout showing oscillating patterns. "Their shields pulse at specific intervals. It's like a heartbeat, strong, then slightly weaker, then strong again. The cycle repeats every 4.3 seconds. Dr. Miller, a physicist from Australia, shook her head. "Even at their weakest point, those shields could withstand our strongest weapons." "True," Tom admitted. "But what if we don't try to overpower them? What if we disrupt the rhythm instead?" He pulled up a new simulation showing wave patterns. "Every energy field has a natural frequency. If we can generate a counterfrequency, like noise-canceling headphones but on a massive scale, we might be able to create momentary gaps in their defenses." The team worked around the clock. Sleep was rare, meals were eaten at workstations, and progress came in small breakthroughs between failures. They named their developing technology the Resonator. Meanwhile, the Void Fleet maintained its position. Their representatives met with world leaders, making demands that sounded reasonable on the surface but would effectively give them control of Earth's resources. They didn't want to destroy humanity, they claimed. They simply wanted to guide our development. 2 weeks into the project, Tom's team built their first prototype, a device the size of a small car that generated specific energy waves targeted to disrupt the alien shields. "If this works," Tom told General Wilson, "we'll need hundreds of these placed strategically around the globe. And we'll need a way to coordinate them." The first test was conducted in a remote desert facility. A small piece of alien technology, recovered from a probe that had landed, was placed in a containment field. The scientists watched from a safe distance as the resonator powered up. At first, nothing happened. The alien device remained protected by its miniature energy field, glowing faintly blue. Then, as the resonator reached full power, something changed. The blue glow flickered, stabilized, then flickered again more violently. For exactly 1.8 seconds, the shield disappeared completely. The team erupted in cheers, but Tom remained focused. "It's not enough," he said. "We need the gap to last longer, and we need to be able to predict exactly when it will happen." That night, as Tom reviewed the test data alone, his computer screen suddenly went blank. A message appeared: "We have detected unusual energy signatures. Explanation required." His blood ran cold. The aliens had noticed their test. Tom quickly shut down his system and called security. Within minutes, the entire facility went into lockdown protocols. They had proven their concept, but also revealed their hand. Now it was a race against time. The Void Fleet would be looking for the source of the disruption, and humanity's one potential advantage might soon be discovered. "We need to move the operation," Tom told General Wilson. "And we need to bring in someone who thinks differently than we do." Little did Tom know that the perfect person was already on their way. The Void Fleet's patience ended abruptly 1 month after their arrival. The first strike came without warning. A military base in Nevada simply vanished in a flash of purple light. Similar attacks followed across the globe: Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, London. Not total destruction, but precise removal of key defense installations. Earth's remaining military forces attempted to retaliate. Fighter jets, missiles, and even experimental laser weapons were deployed against the alien ships. Nothing worked. Projectiles disappeared before impact. Lasers bent harmlessly around their hulls. The aliens' shields proved impenetrable. Within 72 hours, the Void Fleet had neutralized 80% of Earth's military capability. "This is the consequence of deception," announced the alien commander during a global broadcast. "We detected your attempts to develop countermeasures. Such efforts will cease immediately." Cities began falling under direct alien control. Strange towers were constructed in major urban centers, emitting fields that disrupted electronic communications and allowed the aliens to monitor human movement. People were organized into work groups, forced to mine resources and build facilities whose purposes remained unknown. Tom's team relocated to an abandoned mine shaft in Canada. Their original facility had been compromised, equipment destroyed, and several key scientists captured. The first prototype of the resonator was lost. "We need to start over," Tom told the remaining team members, his face gaunt from lack of sleep. "But this time, we have to be completely off their radar." Power was limited. They generated electricity using a small hydroelectric setup built in an underground stream. Equipment was cobbled together from salvaged parts. Communication with the outside world became dangerous and infrequent. 3 months into development, they tested their second prototype. The device hummed to life, targeting a small piece of alien material they'd managed to salvage. For a moment, it seemed to work. The alien shield flickered just as before. Then sparks erupted from the resonator. Smoke filled the room as circuits overloaded and melted. "Everyone out!" Tom shouted as emergency protocols kicked in. The team evacuated as fire suppression systems activated. Hours later, surveying the damaged lab, Tom faced the grim reality: their second attempt had failed catastrophically. But humanity's resistance was about to gain an unexpected ally. The security alarm blared through the underground facility. Someone had triggered the perimeter sensors. Tom grabbed the nearest weapon, a makeshift stun gun, and joined the security team at the entrance. One person, unarmed, reported the guard monitoring the surveillance feed. "Young man, maybe 30. Says his name is Jack." When they brought him in, Jack looked nothing like a threat. Thin, with messy brown hair and grease-stained clothes, he carried only a backpack. His eyes widened at the sight of the facility. "I tracked your energy signatures," he explained, dumping the contents of his backpack onto a table. "Built this detector myself. The aliens can't spot it because it uses old analog technology." Tom examined the device, a bizarre combination of pre-digital electronics and modified radio parts. "Who are you?" Tom asked. "Jack Brown. I was an electrical engineer before the invasion. Been studying their ships whenever they fly over my hideout." He pulled out notebooks filled with detailed observations. "Their shields aren't constant, they pulse like a heartbeat, but the pattern changes. That's why your resonator failed." Tom's team spent hours verifying Jack's claims. His observations matched their data but included a critical insight they'd missed. The aliens' shield frequencies follow a predictable pattern over longer time periods, Jack explained, drawing a complex wave pattern. "It's not random, it's cyclical. If we can predict the cycle, we can time our disruption perfectly." For 2 weeks, they worked to build a third prototype. Jack's unconventional approach brought fresh perspective. Where the scientists sought perfection, Jack embraced improvisation. "We don't need to disrupt their entire shield," he argued during a late-night session. "We just need to create a small hole at the right moment." The new resonator was smaller, more focused, and designed to sync with the aliens' shield cycle. When they tested it against salvaged alien material, the results were immediate. The shield didn't just flicker, it opened a precise gap that remained stable for nearly 8 seconds. "It works," whispered Tom, barely believing his eyes. The real test came 3 days later. A damaged alien scout ship had crashed in the wilderness 50 miles from their base. A small team, led by Tom and Jack, deployed the resonator from a safe distance. When activated, their device created a small but unmistakable breach in the ship's shields. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had found a vulnerability in the seemingly invincible Void Fleet. "We need more resonators." "Dozens of them," Tom told the assembled resistance leaders. Representatives from hidden groups across North America had risked exposure to attend this secret meeting. "But we also need them to work together." Jack nodded, pointing to a world map marked with red dots. "Each resonator creates a small disruption, but if we link them, synchronize them perfectly, the effect multiplies." The plan faced enormous challenges. Building a single resonator required specialized parts, most of which were now controlled by the aliens. Communication between resistance cells risked detection. And the Void Fleet had grown more suspicious, increasing patrols and scans. Over the next 3 months, resistance groups worldwide secretly manufactured resonator components. Parts traveled through underground networks, hidden in food shipments, buried in medical supplies, carried piece by courageous individuals. Assembly happened in abandoned subway tunnels, remote cabins, and hidden basement workshops. Each completed resonator was carefully positioned according to Jack's calculations, a global web designed to create maximum disruption when activated simultaneously. "The timing must be perfect," Tom explained during encrypted video conferences with international teams. "If we're off by even half a second, the network fails." While the resistance worked, the aliens tightened their grip. More humans were forced into labor camps. Food became scarce in areas that resisted alien control. Rumors spread of experiments conducted on captured humans. 1 month before the planned activation date, disaster nearly struck. A resistance member named Pete was captured during a parts transport mission. He knew locations of 3 resonator stations. "We have to move those stations immediately," Tom ordered when he received the news. Teams worked through the night, relocating the devices just hours before alien forces raided the original locations. Later, they learned Pete had died rather than reveal information. His sacrifice allowed the network to remain intact. The final piece came into place when Jack created the synchronization system, a modified satellite uplink that could send the activation signal to all resonators simultaneously. "It's ready," Jack told Tom as they stood in the main control room, staring at the status board showing all 38 resonators online. Tom nodded grimly. "Then we move tomorrow. The aliens are planning something big. They've called all their ships back to the mothership for some kind of announcement. What the aliens intended as a show of force would become humanity's moment to strike back." The alien commander's voice echoed across all remaining communication channels. "Humans of Earth, tomorrow marks the beginning of full integration. Your resistance has proven futile. Your planet will now become an official outpost of our empire." In the resistance headquarters, Tom addressed the gathered leaders. "This is it. The Void Fleet has recalled all ships to their mothership for this integration announcement. They'll be clustered together, vulnerable if we can disrupt their shields." Screens showed the alien mothership hovering over the Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by hundreds of smaller vessels in tight formation. It was both intimidating and perfect for their plan. "All resonator stations report ready," announced the communications officer. "Waiting for synchronization signal." Jack made final adjustments to the timing mechanism. Their shield cycle will hit its weakest point at exactly 3:42 p.m. "We'll have one chance at this." Around the world, resistance fighters prepared for battle. Hidden aircraft were fueled and armed. Makeshift weapons designed to penetrate the aliens' armor were distributed. If the shields went down, humanity would have minutes, perhaps only seconds, to strike. At 3:40 p.m., Tom gave the order, "Initiate synchronization sequence." The control room hummed with tension as the countdown began. 38 resonators worldwide powered up simultaneously, each one aligning to the precise frequency needed to disrupt the alien shields. 20 seconds to maximum effect, Jack reported, eyes fixed on his monitors. The first signs appeared on their screens almost immediately. Energy fluctuations rippled across the alien fleet's defensive barriers. Then, at exactly 3:42 p.m., something remarkable happened. The shields didn't just weaken, they collapsed entirely. "It's working," someone shouted. On screens worldwide, the previously invincible Void fleet suddenly appeared vulnerable, their ships exposed without their protective energy fields. Military forces launched their coordinated attack. Jets scrambled from hidden runways. Missile batteries fired from concealed locations. For the first time, human weapons struck alien hulls directly. In the chaos, they intercepted a transmission from the Void fleet commander, a desperate message sent toward a distant star system, "Request immediate reinforcement. The humans have developed shield disruption technology. We are compromised." 3 alien cruisers fell from the sky before the Void fleet could react. The mothership, recognizing the threat, began targeting ground locations, searching for the source of the disruption. "They're trying to find the resonator network," Tom realized. "We need to hold them off long enough for our forces to do maximum damage." As if in answer, alarms blared through the command center. The mothership had locked onto their primary control facility. "They found us," Tom announced as the facility shook from a nearby impact. "Everyone to emergency stations." The mothership had deployed smaller attack vessels directly toward their hidden mountain base. On screens throughout the command center, they watched alien ships converging on their location. "The resonator network is still functioning," Jack reported. "Shields remain down across their fleet. But they'll destroy this facility in minutes." Tom made a quick decision. "We need to move to the backup site. Jack, you stay with the primary control team. I'll lead the defense unit to buy you time." Outside, resistance fighters mounted a desperate defense against the approaching alien forces. They used the brief window of vulnerability to maximum effect, downing 3 attack craft with conventional weapons that would have been useless against shielded vessels. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening across the globe. The linked resonator network had created a cascading effect, generating interference patterns that affected not just the aliens' shields but all their technology. Alien weapons misfired. Navigation systems failed. Communication between their ships broke down. In orbit, the mothership attempted to regain control, sending emergency power to critical systems. But the disruption continued to spread through their fleet like a virus. Jack noticed the pattern first. "Tom. The resonators are creating some kind of feedback loop in their systems. It's spreading faster than they can contain it." Tom watched in amazement as alien craft began powering down worldwide, their engines failing as the disruption reached critical systems. The Void fleet, once seemingly invincible, was paralyzed. Within hours, resistance forces had secured key alien vessels. The mothership, unable to maintain position, drifted harmlessly into high orbit, its crew trapped inside powerless compartments. 3 days later, the remaining active alien commanders sent a message: they surrendered. The surviving members of the Void fleet abandoned Earth's orbit, limping away in the few ships they could restore to minimal function. As humanity began the long process of rebuilding, Tom and Jack led teams examining the captured alien technology. They discovered methods to adapt it for Earth's defense, creating a planetary shield that would protect against future threats. But the victory celebration was short-lived. 6 months after the Void fleet's retreat, deep space monitoring stations detected a transmission from beyond the solar system. The message was brief but chilling: "Advance force neutralized. Main fleet adjusting strategy. Arrival in 3 cycles. Earth had won its first battle against the stars. The war, however, was just beginning.